Hello everyone, welcome to Service Civilian. If you are new to this channel, please like the video and subscribe so that you don't miss any new uploads. And in this video, we shall discuss the top 10 richest countries on the African continent. Africa is the second largest continent in the world after Asia. Comprising of 55 countries, Africa is a powerhouse in the world of natural resources and innovation. Even with the social and political issues the continent faces, there's no doubt that it's on track to see an abundance of opportunities to grow in the coming years. Over the years, there has been a significant increase in the gross domestic product of most African countries, mainly due to the improvement in the agriculture, service, and tourism industries. On number 10, we have Tanzania, with a GDP of $62 billion. Tanzania supports a population of around 55 million people. The poverty rate has decreased in the past few years, but many Tanzanians still live below the poverty line. There has been growth in the GDP of Tanzania due to high government investment in a new rail line, the revival of the failed state airline, and a new hydropower plant. Tanzanian President John Magufuli's government has high growth plans for Tanzania, including the expansion of their budget deficit in the next few years to support capital outlays for new developments. Tanzania mainly exports gold, cashew nuts, coffee, and cotton. On number 9, we have Ghana, with a GDP of $67 billion. Ghana mainly exports resources such as cocoa, crude oil, gold, and timber. The country experienced an economic expansion of 6.7% in the first quarter of 2019. Inflation remains at a single digit at around 9%, and the banking sector is well capitalized. Ghana's energy sector remains under financial pressure due to high costs in the natural gas supply. With an election cycle in the midst of an oil war and COVID-19 in 2020, will be the taste of what growth will be seen in Ghana. On number 8, we have Ethiopia, with a GDP of $91 billion. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who took office in 2018, has launched an ambitious economic reform which will aim to drive economic transformation and open up one of Africa's most closed economies. The process has already begun for the privatization of sectors such as telecommunications, banking, and sugar plantations. It does, however, suffer from strong headwinds of high consumer inflation and underdeveloped private sector and socio-political instability. It will be a long and difficult road, but if the government is able to provide good leadership and capital allocation, Ethiopia could become the new manufacturing hub for Africa. On number 7, we have Angola, with a GDP of $91 billion. From the end of the Angolan Civil War in 2002, Angola has been working on political and structural reforms in order to stabilize its economy. There is no doubt that this is an economy built on oil, with more than a third of its GDP derived from crude oil sales. Angola is currently implementing reform programs from the IMF and World Bank, who have pledged $3.7 billion and $500 million to the Angolan government, respectively. Until the country is able to diversify from oil dependency, the majority of its population will remain below the poverty line and the growth will be difficult. That being said, the Angolan government has come away far since its civil war and should remain a contender for strong African growth. On number 6, we have Kenya, with a GDP of $98 billion. Kenya, one of the quickest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa, averaged a GDP growth of 5.67% in 2019. The recent economic expansion has been boosted by a stable macroeconomic environment, positive investor confidence, and resilient services sector. Although Kenya has experienced fast growth in both technology and financial services, their total output still remains heavily skewed to agricultural produce, approximately 55% of GDP, including coffee, tea, and corn. Its industrial sector still has room for growth, while its services sector ranges between 45 to 50% of GDP. They benefit from both increased international investment, a stable political climate, and a clear business agenda. Number 5, we have Morocco, with a GDP of $119 billion. Moroccan real GDP growth soared to 2.7% in 2019, missing the World Bank estimate of 2.9%. Morocco derives just under 15% of its GDP from agriculture, 30% from industry, and the remainder from services. Domestic demand remains strong, with average salary increases outpacing the low inflation of 0.6%. Before the mention of COVID-19, the World Bank estimated an average growth rate of 3.3% for 2020-21 due to increased investment in the Moroccan automotive industry. One such investment was made in their Pigeon plant, which hopes to double production capacity. On number 4, we have Algeria, with a GDP of $172 billion. Algeria is a country highly exposed to the performance of hydrocarbons, including oil and natural gas. In fact, hydrocarbons make up nearly 70% of total GDP. However, in mid-2019, many high-ranking executives in the hydrocarbon industry were detained on investigations of corruption. This political uncertainty has slowed down hydrocarbon growth. By sector, commercial services, industrial, construction, and public works and agriculture sectors continue to drive non-hydrocarbon growth. However, in an economy so highly correlated to natural gas and oil, the current war in oil production could have detrimental impacts on its economy. On number 3, we have Egypt, with a GDP of $302 billion. The government of Egypt recently concluded an economic reform program backed by the IMF in order to bolster economic growth. Real GDP growth reached 5.6% in 2019, up from 5.3% in 2018. Unemployment has fallen to 7.5% in the fourth quarter from 9.9% the year before. By sector, gas extractives, tourism, wholesale and retail trade, real estate and construction have been the main drivers of growth. With more than 50% of GDP being derived from service-based employment, Egypt has done well to diversify itself from raw material exports. However, with the 2.5% of the population living below the poverty line and imminent global slowdown, Egypt could face some socio-economic headwinds in the years to come. On number 2, we have South Africa, with a GDP of $358 billion. South Africa holds on to the second spot after a difficult second half of 2019. South Africa went into a recession after 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. The main reason, among others, power outages from aging operations at its main power producer, Eskom. South Africa has diversified its offering over the past 2 decades away from mainly raw material exports such as gold, iron ore, platinum group metals to financial services and manufacturing. Financial services, mining and personal services were the only industries to post positive growth in the fourth quarter. With the entire global economy experiencing a slowdown, its main iron ore trader partner, China, having to close factories and slow construction, South Africa could face a difficult road ahead. The number 1 spot goes to Nigeria, with a GDP of $446 billion. A key component on the African economy, Nigeria has a population amounting to half of West Africa, just over 202 million. With an abundance of natural resources, it remains Africa's number 1 producer in terms of GDP output. The country is Africa's largest crude oil exporter, recording production of about 1.6 million barrels a day in 2016 December. However, growth has slowed to around 2% due to oil and production shocks, and with political instability in the region and a growing young and unemployed population, Nigeria is expected to grow slowly and living conditions to worsen. However, with the 2020 crude oil price war between Saudi Arabia, Russia and the US, the impacts of COVID-19, it's possible Nigeria won't hit its growth target of 2%. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe so that you don't miss new videos that will be uploaded.